If you can, would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Notice of this meeting was given in advance thereof by publishing one time in the Keyes County News and posting at the City Administration Building as shown by the certificate of posting notice. Notice of this meeting was simultaneously given to the president and all members of council. Availability of the agenda was communicated in the advance notice and the notice to the president and council of this meeting. All proceedings hereafter will be taken while this convened meeting is open to the attendance of the public. This meeting is being convened in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the southeast corner of the council chambers. Any person wishing to address the council may do so by standing. When you're recognized, please go to the podium. Please sign the sign-in sheet located on the podium and state your name and the organization, interest, or person you represent before you begin speaking. Thank you. Roll call.
Dupierre.
Here.
Kaufman.
Here.
Crusty.
Here.
Laughlin.
Here.
Weddington.
Here. All right, under our consent agenda, we have a license bond for plumbing contractor license and bond change rider for Michael Hansen. We have a master plumber's license for Michael Hansen. We have a sewer contractor license for Michael Hansen. We have a right-of-way contractor license for Michael Hansen, and the Ogallala Volunteer Fire Department probationary membership for Dallas Newman.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. We have a motion by Councilman Dupierre and a second by Councilman Weddington. Approve the consent agenda. There's no discussion. Could council please vote?
Five yes.
Motion carried. We have no public hearings tonight. Under public forum, we have a land swap. It's property ID number 088001100 and property ID number 088001300. Wilma and Randy Siebert.
Mr. President, just set this up a little bit. Ms. Seibert's been in talking to Brandon about a property exchange. Before anybody incurred any cost, we requested that they come and present this request to see if the council was amenable to this land swap before any cost.
I'm Wilma Seibert, and as Kevin said, I was talking to them about swapping land. I think you guys received a copy of the deal. What we're looking at is there's just kind of a strange shape to that property, and it would just, we thought would be advantageous to just kind of straighten that out and give the property that's west of the water building and the water tower to the city rather than us, because we don't use it, and then just swap that land that's on the east side of the water tower. It's kind of what we're looking at.
Okay. Brandon, have you looked at this, what they're proposing? Have you or Kevin seen any issues with this? And it looks.
We've contacted the water department to see, you know, what was the original intent for the larger parcel. It was for the construction of the building that's now just to the west of the water offices, the water shop. Water department has no use for the property. It perfects access back to the pump house, and that odd little dog leg that comes up behind. It also kind of cleans up the area underneath the water tower itself. So it puts our assets on our property and frees up that squared parcel to the north of the Seiberts for whatever purpose you want to use it for.
There's also enough room left that, if we ever needed to replace the water tower there, that we could put multiple water towers up there. There's enough room for multiple. So,
Looking at it, if I understand it right, would with the land swap, would we have to grant an easement then for the Cyberts to have access? Is that how that looks? The green would, it's what we would be taking?
I don't think, do we, Brandon?
it would be like an alley. Pretty much it would be extending that alley through to our,
We
To the water
own
tower.
it, but the city drives all of it all the time already,
right.
to get to the water tower. I
Right,
don't know if there's an actual easement on that, but that's been that way for,
well, I just want to make sure you have access to it.
yeah. yes.
Yeah, so we,
We're not really getting rid of that ownership there, it's just an giving the city access to drive to get to the water tower.
yeah,
I'm not sure, the coloring might be a little off there. Cause we'll
Well,
continue to kind of own that.
I think the way that we had it figured was it'd be extending this alley through, and an alley is public.
Property. that
Public
will allow
easement,
us
so.
access.
yeah, I guess we'd have to, look, see the survey or the plat, what it is, but I don't see any issue with it.
Once the survey comes in, you'll be able to take a look at it.
Yeah.
This is very consistent with what the city tried to do about 10 years ago. And I can't remember, Wilma, when you guys purchased the property, but at or about that time, the city was also negotiating, try to
I
work
think
something
you-
out. And it just never happened because there was another owner involved when they bought it.
Oh, okay.
And so this is very consistent with what the city's been trying to get accomplished for a lot of years.
I think you'd get support from the city. We just need to see the survey and we want to make sure that you have access to property. We want to make sure we have access in through an easement or a dedicated alley or whatever we have to do through that. So,
Okay.
Part of the property corners. We do own that. To the
What-
fence,
What's currently the alley
it's currently the alley, yeah, that's our property line runs right down that fence.
that we can,
So
work out
straight
some
down,
kind of
but
easement.
access to that, to you guys is just, it's there.
Yep.
I mean, there's no way we can't stop you guys.
Yeah, we'll work out an easement.
We gotta have water.
yeah,
Well, we just wanted to make sure that the council was supported before the Cyberts incurred any cost moving. this
I
forward.
don't see any issues with it.
I don't either.
Good opportunity to put some more property on tax roll.
So, serve them next. You're gonna tax this road.
Go for it.
I didn't know you gonna get taxed on.
Okay, so at this point, so what does that mean? We,
Move forward.
Get your survey done, work with Devin and Brandon.
okay,
And then we will have a formal swap, which will be on the agenda.
okay,
I just didn't want you to incur any costs and then it gets to the council.
and
And they
then,
say, well, this, we
Yeah.
didn't want to do this.
okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Under nuisance abatement, windshield assessment of property located at 1001 East First Street, Mark Baumgart.
I do not see Mr. Baumgartner in the audience.
All right,
I did talk to West Central. He has had a subsequent conversation with Ed Dunn at West Central. He has a better understanding of what's the specifics of his violations are. West Central has given him an extension. We will see if he wants to make a return appearance.
all right. With that, is there anyone here who would wish to address the council in a public forum on something that is not on the agenda? Okay. Not, we'll move on to report of city clerk treasurer. We have the minutes of the regular meeting held April 28th, 2026.
I'd move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held April 28th, 2026.
Second. We have a motion by Councilman DePiero and a second by Councilman Laughlin. Discussion, could council please vote?
Kevin, if you voted, it didn't register. 4 yes, 1 abstain.
Motion carried. Financial report for April 2026.
Okay, for the month ended April 30th, 2026, the revenues were $986,444.03. Expenses for the month were $1,186,066.92. The fiscal year-to-date revenues are $7,011,403.22. And our fiscal year-to-date expenses are $8,839,256.57. Fiscal year-to-date, the city has received $523,648.80 from franchise fees, $23,755.19 from telephone occupation taxes, and $102,642 from hotel occupation taxes. For the month of April, the city did not receive any casino tax revenue. Fiscal year to date remained the same at 544. There was a mix up at the state level, and the revenue for the casino tax that we should have received in April will be received in May, which I have already received the 2 months already in May. So, and then the available unencumbered LB 840 balance is negative $112,027.90. You'll see that's a correction I handed out for what was in the packet. Anybody have any questions?
What are we getting quarterly on our LB 840? About,
Well,
I mean, ballpark it.
I had a city manager once that told me if I'm ever gonna say a number, I should know what the number is. Remember that? No. So it's around 60,000 for the quarter.
Yeah, so by the end of the year, we ought to be back in the black.
Depending on what we do with
Yeah, okay.
barring any new contracts, yes.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Jane? Nice job, Jane, as always. Keep this in the black. All right, moving on, under recommendations of departments, boards, and committees. Under administration, we have special fee schedule for liquor license.
Mr. President, this just raises this increase would just be an increased cost to cover publication fees.
Yeah. It doubles the fee, but it's only $10 more.
Raises it to $20.
We've been actually collecting less than our actual cost for a little while, so.
All right. Yeah. Should be pretty.
Yeah, you guys did 16 in January, ranging in cost from 1638 to 1729. And that happened at the end of January. So just less than $20. The news really does not, we don't do the rates there. That's deemed by the state. We have no control over those rates.
Looks fair to me. Okay.
I would introduce resolution 2331 and move for its adoption.
A resolution adopting special fee schedule for liquor license.
That's actually
Oh,
Said that the right ones.
the resolution amending the liquor.
okay. A resolution amending the liquor license fees on the special fee schedule. Is there a second?
Oh, second.
We have an ordinance or resolution introduced by Councilman Laughlin and a second by Councilman Weddington. If there's no discussion, could council please vote?
Five yes.
Resolution 2331 is hereby adopted. Okay. Under planning, planning and zoning, final plat, Great West Townhomes, replat number 2
Thank you.
of Lot 1, Great West Townhomes, replat to Ogallala, Keith County, Nebraska.
Mr. President, this is a request for a final plat on a project that was done in 2006 as a group project. There's a whole lot going on this, so I'm going to defer to the applicant and the surveyor to cover any to give a summary and answer any questions.
Sure, great, thanks, good to see everybody. My name is Ryan Tobin. We are the purchaser and the applicant on behalf of both the one before us today here with Great West and Oak Ridge. But just to give a kind of brief summary of where we're at and why this is before you, we did discuss this at length with the planning commission last week. Talked a lot about what we're trying to accomplish and why it wasn't already done that way. But ultimately what we're looking to do with replat 2 different sites here within town to make them more in alignment with the particular building composition that's on the site. Right now they are duplexes. There are 16 on each site, but specifically Great West Townhomes is on East 10th, and then one following here is Oak Ridge, which is over on 3rd and L. But as an interested buyer and looking to purchase this, why we're here ultimately is we're trying to ensure that these are underwritable, but they're also sustainable long term. And then what I mean by that is they're affordable housing. Their rents are limited at 40% of the average median income. And so when we took a look at this, they've been owned by Keith County Housing Development Corp. When they were developed at that time under the tax credit program. And we're also developing the schoolhouse project, which I've talked to you on previous matters as well, and trying to bundle these together as a single kind of asset to allow us to staff appropriately, maintain them long-term is all part of what I would call the underwriting to make sure that these are something that will be able to sustain their operating expenses and ultimately the buildings so that the residents in them can enjoy them for years at this discounted rent that we achieved through these programs. But the plat particularly was really born through a discussion I had with Todd Neal here at State Farm. Currently, they're both on a group project zoning. So they took the whole site and redeveloped it and just put it on one super block. And I think to our best ability talking it through with planning commission, we learned that that was probably just the easiest way to do it back then. But more in alignment with kind of the city infrastructure and the particular assets, we're looking to plat them onto individual parcels for each duplex. First conversation with Todd was just, what's it cost to insure these assets as an apartment building under the group project? And rates went up, at least with State Farm as a carrier, as much as 20% in April. But I asked them before planning commission, what would be the rate if we were to insure with you today as it sits? And it would be about $60,000 annually. What would be the rate if we were to plat them as proposed? It's about $34,000. So you can see when we're trying to preserve affordability and maintain the operations of these so that they can have good curb appeal, but also make sure that they're, in our words, safe, sanitary, decent housing, but for us, they're homes. And so we're trying to make sure that we can operate them effectively for the homes that they serve and the families that live there. But all of these are part of the factors that lay into it. But in discussions with the building official, it says not sure why it was done that way, but this looks appropriate. So we engaged Dickinson Survey then to really survey it and analyze it relative to what the existing code is, to say where would the lines be drawn best. We've drawn those lines as best we can, but there are a few exceptions within that, in the form of a variance. And some of those are setbacks, and that's just for the existing buildings. Utilities we've handled through easements that will grant back to the city. There's a lot of unknowns, so we've just said we'll blanket easement that until such time that we either further refine that and identify where all the public access and utilities comes into the site. But to the best of our abilities and using pretty good due diligence, I would say, we've outlined all of those to the planning commission. And ultimately there's a few front setbacks that are within feet, some side setbacks within inches. But but collectively, that's really the big picture is that we've drawn them as close as we could to the existing configuration of the city's code, but knowing we had existing conditions that we had to make some variances in that request. And so we did, have a healthy discussion on that. John with Dickinson also walked the planning commission through all the details of those variances before you, and those will be outlined in that. We also have committed to make improvements to the site as part of this recordation of plat that would include lowering the sewer manholes so that right now they were set when it was built about 6 inches higher than what they should have been within the right of way. And so we've made a commitment to make those improvements, but we're also making a commitment long-term to maintain the property and make sure it's a welcome addition to the community. And so happy to take some technical questions if you have them related to the actual plat. And I'm happy to take questions that you would have as well.
Well, I can tell you from experience that it was done as one parcel because it was a tax credit project. And because there were other funds as part of that project, you know, they weren't gonna have however many units you have up there as individual properties. So it was kept as at one parcel. Do you have any intentions of selling the individual lots?
No, I mean, right now it's on a LURA, so it's a land use restriction agreement as well, which was part of the award of tax credits. And that's a 40 to 45 year LURA, so there's at least 15 years on that LURA still. So maintaining it consistent with its original application, operating it at this rent level, it's all stuff that's baked into the conversation.
Yeah.
So we're gonna continue to operate as affordable as possible.
Okay, so you'd have a $30,000 savings in insurance then.
That's right. Historically, the costs have been rising and rents have been declining, so they were what we'd say troubled, not beyond repair in my mind. So I've done a really good job of trying to look local to all the maintenance and ongoing operations. I've also been looking to build another 4 units to help share those costs amongst, you know, what I call a portfolio, assuming we win our tax credit application here in August. But it's all part of that intent of how to run these well. And so collectively, you know, those expenses are all baked into the deal to try to make it operate effectively.
And then the city would, the streets would be dedicated to the city and the city would assume the cost for the maintenance, repair and upkeep of those streets.
Of Great West Circle.
Great West Circle.
There's nothing on Oak Ridge that. would
Let's
have
keep it, let's stick to one
Yeah, absolutely.
site first. So,
That's
yeah,
right.
we would assume those costs in.
Yeah, that there is a turn radius that is slightly less than the standard, but certainly
Yeah.
it accomplishes the safety of what that would have needed for any emergency access. But there is a long-term adoption of that street, which I understand is up to standard or better than some, not all. When you look at the city standard as
Yeah.
well.
Do you accomplish what you're trying to do by condoing this?
Each individual townhome in theory could be broke up, but I don't think it changes you have to have a separate building BIN number for each unit. But they're.
Okay.
I've stretched condo limits quite a bit, trying to understand where they work. Insurable risk is one thing. So I would say potentially.
Okay, and I guess I'll just be blunt about it. I mean, I really don't see any advantage for the city to approve this. If, you know, it saves you 30,000, then we have to maintain, you know, a street that wasn't built to code. And with all the various properties and curve turns and the radius, you know, I don't know why we would.
Well, and that's what I would say, we're shifting your savings onto the taxpayers then. So as we have to take care of it, we're shifting that cost onto the taxpayer.
It would be a long-term cost of the project if the dedication of the right of way was not part of the plat. Looking at the capital needs of that area, you know, of that particular road, I'd say that, you know, over the next 3 to 5 years, potentially there would be a top coat of asphalt that happens throughout the city, you know, but certainly there is that ongoing responsibility of the right of way, which it would become through that plat. And I wouldn't say that it's passing on savings to the operation of the buildings. That savings is trying to save the operation of the building. when it's running at a deficit with the income that it collects and the expenses that it's incurred over the last several years. Some of it, including landscape, has fallen into some disrepair as well. You know, these things are built on developer fee when they're originally built, and then they're operated, you know, at a very efficient level, but there's even a property tax calculator methodology that the state applies towards these deed restricted properties. So there is a property tax, but it's based on value, and that value is based on net income. And currently, it's not showing any net income. And that's the problem. There is no cash flow to support the debt. There's no operational efficiency because the rents are so low. And that's really the community. That's the taxpayer benefit, is who we're helping and assisting at this stage of life, who live there. And many of our residents are, you know, 10 to 12 years or longer within that facility. But you know, we can only ratchet up rent to a certain point where, you know, I've seen income certifications and what goes through these applicants. There is a hardship if we have to recover those costs through operationals or otherwise increasing rents over time. And so we're trying to hold that line at that 40% rent income for the life cycle of this project.
So the city would be taking responsibility of the street. Now, on the plat, there's a parcel with a playground. What's going on with that
That would be maintained.
by the city?
No, that
By
would be
you guys.
maintained by us, yeah.
Okay. Have you gone out to get quotes on insurance through any other company?
I am.
Are we seeing similarities?
National brokerage houses are not as high as State Farm. They're still probably a $10,000 to $12,000 differential. Sometimes it's harder to find carriers in the rural markets, but we do have comparable, so it's not as dramatic as what State Farm has, but it is significantly more affordable. And even more importantly than that, under the apartment insurance underwriting, your deductible is over $100,000. Where on the duplex, you're paying what you would be paying on a duplex type house within the community, so it's more like 2%.
And I see what you guys are saying on the additional costs. One thing is when you go to individually parcel these, the county will automatically assess an additional they add $10,000 per parcel automatically. So it is going to add about $80,000 in these 8 parcels. Just on valuation. What does that really come out to? Probably pennies at the end of it. But there would be a little bit of additional cost to you in that aspect, little additional tax revenue there. I would say my biggest issue is the blanket easement overall, because when we go to individually parcel these and there's a blanket easement, in 15 years that LoRa restriction comes off, and for whatever reason, maybe probably not you, but maybe you sell it as a group project to somebody else and they decide to eventually parse or sell it. Now I can go trenching through your backyard and there's nothing you can say or do about it. And so I'm concerned about the unintended consequences 20, 30 years down the line when citizens are coming to the council going,
Yeah.
what in the world were you guys thinking?
Well,
And that was part of my question too, is I believe, you know, with this being a group project before, we had individually parceled it out, and if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me on this, it meets code now. But with the change, it doesn't meet code without making exceptions. Correct? Is that what I'm understanding?
there are variances
Yeah.
on the
But
setbacks
is it
now,
all code?
and the streets are narrower in the radius turns.
But as it sits now, it meets code,
It meets
is what
code.
you're saying.
Yeah, so I'm saying now,
No.
based on rules, it meets
Brandon's
code.
saying
Because-
no.
Well, it's in lawful existence
Yeah,
at this
so it
time.
meets our
but-
code based on exceptions now.
Yes, yeah, there you
It's
go.
under that group project, that's correct.
The
And we too, obviously, if there was any other
So
disposition in the future,
Okay.
that type of easement would have to be worked out. I rarely would say blanket easement is the right approach. As a landowner, making acquisition, that means the city can come in and do whatever they want, wherever they want, on the entire site. That's what that means. That's not the right way to do things ultimately. And I think that we have still some unknowns out there that need to be determined. We've walked the site multiple times. We think we have it pretty dialed in. So most of the public utilities are called out specifically. The blanket easement is really for what we don't know about, but it's not the main sewer line. It's not the main electric service, you know, all of these things, the main water line, those are all identified and traceable, you know, really it's landscape irrigation. You know, in that case, then you would have some type of organized document that would go with any transfer, but you wouldn't be able to buy a property in the future without clarifying what the utilities are. You would need will service. That would certainly be something that would have to come up before any disposition. We'd be happy to refine that further. There's certain things that we just aren't traceable. Schedule 40 PVC as an example, you know, and without running wire down that or discovering it with other technology, you know, it's a lot to take on initially, but you know, when we take on a property, we get to know it very well and very intimately. So we've met with all the vendors that are maintaining it. We want it to operate very well and personally serve it as needed. So, you know, we want to have local ownership here. Big picture as we build on more affordable units in the community. You know, this helps us build that position to support the savings across multiple properties so they can operate efficiently, because they're all very highly leveraged when we pull these things together. That's not a item for your concern necessarily, but it is part of the story of why I'm here. This is why we're trying to solve for what it takes to make sure that these things are something that we can run efficiently and as planned per the agreements that were set up 20 years ago.
Any other questions? Comments?
How long is the agreement, the restrictions set on there for low income? When does that expire?
It's another 15 on the current Laura. Usually there's a
So once that
recapitalization.
expires, you can go out of low income, they can be sold, or you can raise rates above low income.
Technically, yes. I mean, I can tell you with the latest market study that I pulled on the community, even with our new product, market rate units, we're renting at 50% in. So, you know, I don't know that the market is there to think that there's much windfall on a market flip in the future. There is a qualified contract under the LURA, which is something that was agreed to back in the day. At a certain time in year 25, if it's distressed, you can try to dispose of it. You have to ask the state permission and their valuation. Through our acquisition, we're waiving the qualified contract with the state to take this on and say, we're not trying to sell it. I'm in the business of affordable housing. That's what I do for a living. So our intent here is to operate these to support the market. But that market is also 40% rent in that range where we're at with these units that we're bringing into the market right now.
But when that expires, that can go above that rate. There's no guarantee that it won't go
It would
above.
be unrestricted, yes.
Correct.
I don't know if it goes up or down, but yes, it would be unrestricted after the 15.
Would allow it to go
45 year
above
mark.
low income rates to whatever.
Whatever
is
the
deemed at
market
that
is.
time. Well, or whatever the owner decides, not what market is, you can decide wherever you want. Correct.
Yeah, you got to fill them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Market is whatever the market could be. Yeah.
I still have concern about, you know, accepting the street.
I hear you.
And, you know, when the project was put together, I mean, we granted some concessions, some variants just to get it built. And, you know, I definitely remember that. But it was, we were told, you know, this is gonna stay as one track. You don't have, the city doesn't have to worry about maintaining it, taking care of it. Well, now for $30,000, you're saying, yeah, you know, you're gonna save $30,000. The city's gonna pick up the cost for streets.
Well, you own the street then. Yes.
Correct.
So you're actually getting the value of the street. It's an improved street. So I understand you're adopting the maintenance of it. We're
Yep.
certainly gonna maintain our property up to that street, but it is a city street. I think we did hear back from Brandon when the city would be willing to accept the street and adopt it in, at least from a structural standpoint of how it's been built. So we did have some of that discourse as well at planning.
But then we have to maintenance it during winter, we have to remove snow from it. We have to do all
Let me
of
understand.
it now.
Brandon said the city would be willing to accept it.
Not that some of the city worker said that they would be able to adopt it into their maintenance schedule, I think is what I was pointing out. Yes, that it would be maintainable. Not that the council has adopted it.
Got it, okay.
It would be on the end of the snow removal.
Nice.
Do we know how much the tax, if we break this out, based on the calculation of what we receive in property taxes, what that offset would be? I mean, are we still, by doing this, still then at a net loss, even more so than we are now? Would be. We happen to know that, or if we find that out?
I'm sure we could find it out.
And to that point, I guess I'm really struggling. I'm somewhere in between. I've got a few concerns. Definitely agree with you guys on some of that. And I think Ryan has a heart for the community and wants to, you know, maintain things, and I see that. And so I want to work with any developer that's willing to help us maintain our city. Do we table this just to try and crunch some of those numbers a little better? Maybe get a little understanding, a better understanding of what our options are. Could you possibly, instead of a big blanket easement, would it be worth a little additional upfront cost to narrow that down?
Oh, I'd be happy to do the homework to refine the easements. I mean, the blanket is obviously the holy grail of easements. So if you want me to narrow those down for you, we can go figure out what those are. I mean, for the most part, and you can speak to what utilities are out there, they're identified. Usually I see 10 feet on either side, or water wants up to 25 if there's a main, you know, things like that. But blanket, that's like giving you full permission to do whatever you want. So I would be more than happy to do that refinement. You know, it's more work and you get less, is my point. So I'm happy to do that if you feel more confident in that position.
I'm looking at the future homeowners if this totally gets sold in pieces.
Well, and I would have to do that if that ever came to it, but you know, for us, it's about managing 40 plus 32, 72. 72 works, 42 is hard. You know, 40 is hard, 32 is a little bit harder because we want full-time maintenance staff. We want full-time management staff on site. So we're looking to invest in the community. This is not, you know, outside the road. You know, the road is you spot on. That's the biggest issue.
It is.
You know, I could say, I want to be part of this community, these residents, they don't want to be on their private drive. It's not a gated community, but as a private drive, it could be in the future. So then you're having future limits of where someone says, in the future, I mean, again, hypotheticals, that is a whole exclusive neighborhood that changes, you know, where we're very about being involved in the community, activating, connecting people and saying, this vote says, no, we don't want you in our community. In my mind, you know, if I'm in a sales position, but I've tried to do it with science, you know, and the science is behind it. The people and the compassion is a whole nother piece. So that's where we like to see councils have that discussion. And I understand the fiscal responsibility as well.
If, you know, you're spot on. I mean, we'd love to support developers. We'd love to support your project. We have fiscal responsibility to make sure that the actions we take, you know, benefit the city as a whole. Not a, you know, individual or an individual project. So you said you had to lower some manholes. What other problems are on the street, you know?
Well, I'm personally gonna take on sidewalk repair because there's over, you know, 2 inches of settlement in whatever subgrade was put in there. There's been some water damage. I mean, we're right now in the process of investing in all of that stuff because we want it to run and operate. We don't want liability. We don't want risks. Same thing that the city would, if we're to keep the street, well, you know, then we'll maintain it. But if that's the, you know, knuckle breaker here, you know, it's not the $12,000 of asphalt that I'm here to debate on. I keep the street. It's your street. It's your community. If you don't want it, I'll keep it. We'll maintain it. You know, we'd still talk this plat because it's insurance and it's other operational things and it's important. So we try to make the right decision. You know, we have a lot of moving pieces here, as you do. You're drinking from the fire hose right away because you're getting all of it at once. We've spent the last 4 months going back and forth to try to figure out where the best compromise was. And that's really where we're at. Is this the right compromise for the right reasons? Technically, I think we got enough support to give you the confidence that what we're doing is not, we're not trying to, pull one over here with the council, that's, commission agreed with us 6-0. That it makes sense. It's something old in the existing conditions, if there were to be catastrophic event and we had to rebuild something, those existing conditions would no longer exist and all the future setbacks would be adhered to. So all of this puts it in motion under the new zone code. And it's not the anomaly that sits up on the hill. It's part of the community, and so that's what we've proposed with the work that we put together to try to present that to you today.
Yeah, with Austin, I don't mind tabling. When I look at this, one of the things that I'd be thinking about if we tabled it is if this came before council today, drawn out exactly as is, no low income, because we don't have that guarantee in 15 years. Would we approve it as is? That's what I'll probably.
And we couldn't unless we granted
Correct.
variance.
Correct. And I think we'd have some enforcement too, because if we take over that street, it has to be, is this the one that's the one lane?
No,
That would turn into a one way, is that the other one that we get into?
no,
Can only have parking. on
It's
one side.
what, it's like, it's.
We got the health clinic on the back that connects on the loop, so it's a 2-way. And what is it, 42 wide
We
now?
only have
Yeah.
parking on one side though.
And that would fall then to us for enforcement. Because right now we don't enforce that, that's not ours. We don't know,
Parking,
They've
So-
got two-sided parking.
yeah.
Yeah,
We
it
don't
is,
have to
it is,
enforce
right now it is
but-
being used as a one-way. As they park on both sides, but if you allow parking on one side, it could be a standard street.
Yeah.
It's 2 foot short.
and I think
But if
we
we-
talked earlier that we'd be happy to put no parking on one side or the other.
But if neighbors start calling because people are parking, then it's up to us to send the officers, it's our enforcement, our cost again.
Yeah,
There's a
but-
sinkhole, water happens, street drops out, it's our cost, right? Unless we put in a street special assessment of some sort for maintenance.
Probably would have to stripe it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I ended.
It's one way right now.
When you get cars on both sides, you can only drive up to, there's not enough room for 2 vehicles up the middle.
yeah, I went through there this last week and it's tight. There are cars.
If you had parking on just one side, there would be enough room for
Yeah.
traffic to flow either direction.
Which is fine, I mean, there's driveways and garages, so I don't know that
40
there's
40
huge.
foot is the width of the pavement right now, including 8-foot sidewalks, so you got 32 is basically the width of the driving surface.
I think it's, definitely looking at it, it's, is there enough benefit versus potential loss there? And I honestly can't say I can see it yet at this time, so, I don't mind taking a look at it. Spend some more time thinking about it.
Do you know that you said your sidewalks in some areas are sinking? Is there a water leak in that area somewhere?
I heard last year there were some irrigation problems that have been resolved, so I actually met with the irrigation group right before we met here, because we're trying to understand why Oak Ridge isn't.
Yeah,
cleaned
when
up.
I go down 10th Street, I mean, there's like a river flowing down there.
Well, and that's, having local ownership is gonna be an important piece, because we're gonna be very responsive. I mean, we're here, I've lived in the community for over 20 years myself, so. This is, about making investments where we think have the right
Okay.
outcome, ultimately, but,
How would the council like to proceed on this?
I'd like to make a motion to table a final plat of Great West Townhomes replat number 2 of lot 1, Great West Townhomes replat to Keith County, Ogallala, Keith County, Nebraska.
And to table that, what are we expecting then at the next meeting?
I'd like to see, I would like to break down how the tax income is going to change by breaking this out. What our cost is over 5, 10, 15 years to take responsibility of that road and see if it makes sense for us to take it.
Could we get our engineer, do you have an engineer that can take a look at the street, tell us what condition it's in and you know, you say you're gonna be lowering the manhole?
Well, yeah, the manholes is one piece, but we can always do a capital needs assessment. We're supposed to close over the next 2 weeks here on this property. So we're gonna lock it into motion here, with that timeline. So a table motion certainly, to go do more homework. We, like I said, you know, we're in a position right now that we can make some time and adjustments, but I don't think that the homework is gonna give us much more. I can say it's gonna be $20,000 to put new asphalt on that. With pretty good understanding. It's gonna cost me $2,500 to lower the manholes. Property tax, based on the state's program under Allura, there's not a huge increment of property tax during Allura. Where you get all your property taxes when it gets unrestricted. That's your 15-year windfall.
Yeah.
If I no longer have a deed restriction, neither do you.
Right,
So when you say in 15 years there's a windfall, your windfall is mine as a.
no, I didn't
taxpayer.
say 15 years, there was gonna be.
Well, but you see, my point is there is that if there's any change in 15, there's one is the lure burns off and I'm paying full
There's
property tax.
No restrictions.
There's no restrictions.
There you
That's
go.
right. So,
Yeah.
so there is that. Right now, the discount is only really the term of affordability.
Right,
And so that's where these are related. Well, so, but, you know, put a coat of asphalt down now, does it need it? Probably not. Other repairs that we're gonna continue to do, tabling it though does change our dynamic here, in the short order.
you said, you're closing, you don't own the property now? Or you-
No, Keith County's the seller, Housing Development Corp.
Okay. Got it. I didn't know that.
They're the owner, yeah.
How long has this still been in motion?
6 months? Well, technically since the PSA, but we've been, with the schoolhouse project I've been working on for 3 years, we've always assumed that we would manage them collectively because Keith County owned the other portfolio. And that created efficiencies when their board decided to sell. They had other offers coming in. We felt in a position to support the schoolhouse that we needed to make an offer. So we executed PSA about a month and a half ago, but we've known about the property and underwritten it. It's in every market study I have for the last 3 years.
Our clerk was just whispering in my ear that water has been an issue for multiple years.
We
Going
have
down
water
there.
bills.
Yeah.
We're trying to
and
fix that
so
ASAP.
That again just elevates my concern about, you know, the erosion and the washout, which we have had them in town now. Sinkhole, so.
I think and that's, I'll stand by the motion to table is just to give us more time to do a deep dive into this. I
Austin,
understand.
did you want to table it to a date certain or
Next count,
so the May 26th meeting?
does everybody feel 2 weeks is enough time?
And then on the Keith County Housing Development. Don't know if Mary wants to speak to it, cause. That date, you know, they can be flexible with that too. They see that this being beneficial, and Mary, maybe you can speak on this, I don't wanna put you on the spot. You have to know on the housing corp side, it sounds like this deal is beneficial to Keith County Housing or Development. Do you happen to know if we happen to table this as someone who does additional issues to push this out a little bit to get some of these things answered, to make sure?
So Mary Wilson, Keith County Housing Development Corporation.
Don't forget to sign.
So as far as a benefit to the Housing Development Corporation, the benefit is we're a 9-person volunteer board.
Yep.
That does not want to be a landlord anymore. And so that's the benefit. The benefit is also to the middle school project. If you look at the budget associated with the middle school project and the management fees, as Ryan spoke to earlier, the larger amount of units that they have wrapped into that management fee is a benefit to the middle school project. Just affordable housing in general to the community. So that's our vision for that. This isn't a moneymaker for us because also when you're dealing with those LURAs, income restrictions, that has to be considered in what you're selling for. Not a money maker,
Go ahead.
and I'll leave it at that. So.
Could we, would it, cause undue hardship to push this out and do additional research? I can sit down with housing too, and have this conversation, bring some more documentation back to the council in 2 weeks. Or at our next meeting, I guess.
For the Housing Development Corporation, I can't speak on behalf of the board, but it does not hurt us in any way. From a standpoint from Ryan's timeline, I'm gonna defer to him.
Sure.
But it does not impact Housing Development Corporation in any way, because like I said, we're not making anything off of this.
And I would too, Austin, if you wanted, or if everybody's okay, I'd sit down with Mary and Ryan as well. And I go through some pros and cons. Here's what it is now, here's what it could be, here's the benefit versus cons, so we could look at it in that kind of a structure, have something more.
Is this gonna work in your timeline, 2 weeks?
Makes month end, I mean. I've extended the contract as of this last week, because we've been waiting with NIFA. For us, you know, assuming their board extends the contract, the urgency in the offer was tied to a timeline where they were moving at a fast pace with the other offers out there. So, I mean, we're there. We will have to close, and we would have to bind the higher price insurance with our closing timeline. We can always come back and rethink that down the road, but it changes the operationals, you know, out of the gates here, and it changes whether we would use State Farm or not, probably altogether.
It's really a $30,000
Yeah.
savings that
Just on the insurance. side,
big of a.
We've clipped every expense from water bills to maintenance to take things on. It's tight. And then having, you know, a future with some growth here with more units. It's a balance act between all of them to make it work is what our point is. And this is something we tried to get done before the NIFA app. Because we have this asterisk of local experience now too, done all the trainings, we've been working collectively to bring all three of these properties. In the forefront here for affordable housing in this community.
So if I may just say one more thing real quick. We were considering two very strong offers to purchase these properties. One from another management company and then Ryan and his team. It all came down to having local ownership, a strong relationship, and knowing that we would be preserving affordable housing in the community. That was the biggest piece to us, because that is part of the Housing Development Corporation's mission. And what can we do to support that? Do we have the capacity to build more of these group projects like Great West and Oak Ridge? I don't know if the Housing Development Corporation does, but if we can get them in the right hands to make sure that they're great assets for the community for years to come, fantastic. Those assets still pay property taxes to help with maintenance. They still have other fees associated with them. They have residents living in them that pay taxes. And so it's still a benefit to the community. And we're very thankful for Ryan's investment. But those are all things that were part of the conversation when we were deciding to move forward. So.
We have a motion to table to the 26th.
Yes.
Yep, I'll second that.
All right. If there's no further discussion. Council, please vote.
Or yes, one no.
Motion carried. We will see you back on the 26th. I'd still consider looking at a condo, and that way takes the streets and the maintenance and everything out of the equation. So, all right, moving on. Planning and zoning, final plat of Oak Ridge, replat of Oglala Apartments number 1. A replat of lots 1 through 8, Goodrich's subdivision, lot 9, replat to Oglala, Keith County, Nebraska.
Mr. President, since this does not have near the number of wrinkles in it that Great West does. There's no streets involved, just some setbacks.
I looked at the replat. I don't see an issue with this. I mean, it's not a public
No.
street.
Yeah, I didn't.
Only issue again was for me, the blanket easement. I understand that's a benefit to the city. I'm just looking long term, but you are saying in the future, should you go to individually sell those, you're gonna have to rectify those easements.
You'd have to.
All less issues with this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
any problems with this one?
All right, we get a motion.
I'm doing the right one here. I will move to approve, let's see, that's the Oak Ridge one, is that right?
Yeah.
I'm doing right.
Yep.
Move to approve a final plat of Oak Ridge replat of Oglala Apartments number 1. A replat of lots 1 through 8, Goodrich subdivision, lot 9 replat to Oglala, Keith County. Scott.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Laughlin and a second by Councilman Dupierre to approve the final plat of Oak Ridge replat. There is no further discussion. Council, please vote.
Five yes.
Motion carried. All right, thank you guys. Ryan, John, did you guys sign in? Yes.
Where do I sign?
The sign-in sheet should be sitting right there on.
Oh, there it is, Barry.
All right, moving on under planning and zoning, final plat of Cleveland subdivision, phase 1, located in the southwest quarter of section 8, township 13 north, range 38 west of the 6 p.m. in Keith County, Nebraska.
Mr. President, this is the old Green Acres. South part of town. Mr. Cleveland has in order to expedite things and simplify the ability to move forward, is dividing this up into phases. What is it, Brody, 4 lots? On phase
There might be a few.
Six.
There's 6.
6.
Not real
Five.
5.
We were both.
And my apologies, but if you guys wanna take one and pass it down, this basically is just a memo I typed, and it also had I just let Ryan speak on Great Northwest or Great West and Oak Ridge. But item number 3 is regarding this Cleveland subdivision, and basically it's just kind of a memo. It outlines a couple things, and then it's the preliminary utility plan. And yeah, I'll let Brody continue on, but basically I think he wanted to do phase 1 because of the BFE issue. Where the state hasn't erred on the BFE plan that drops 1,000 feet right after that little blue line. And so basically Brody's looking at doing the west side while the state remedies that, because the state remedying stuff takes a while, so.
You're not running too far. Okay, good. No, I know last time we were up here, the biggest issues were the drainage and things like that, and part of the reason it was a little while before we got back here was John did a lot of homework on what our options were, different codes. And I think we've got a pretty good plan on how to handle that. There's a few different things he brought up. For one, that's some of the stuff I know you can talk on more, that there's a certain area of water that's essentially is it the state causing
The BFE basically, is that what we're talking about?
In the rise.
Yeah, so basically, just so you guys know what I was looking at, I just kind of wanted to see. And me and Brody talked about the size of buildings he's talking about putting on those, which for the duplex lots, those two in the middle, it's not quite, but roughly, like 55 foot by 56 foot. And then a single, is like 40 by 40 or 40 by 60 or something along those lines. But the point being is what he thought he'd do is that entire back line, just run one elevated pad all the way across the back as opposed to, 4 individual ones. So what I did was basically just a quick little volume analysis, which is what is on this memo. The bottom line is that the base flood elevation is 3,212. And so the volume that everyone's worried about is putting fill below that BFE. And so, and then you want to be 1 foot above the BFE. That's what you want the finished floor minimum, which is 3213. And then, and then you want the actual exterior grade 6 inches lower than that, just because of IBC building code. So you take those numbers and basically the existing elevation there is, it slightly varies, but it's pretty flat over there. And it's about 3210.15. So then you run those numbers and you basically, and this is assuming if he trucked all this fill in, which in reality, probably not gonna, he's gonna level that out, probably maybe 50% gets trucked in or something. But assuming a conservative worst case analysis, you basically end up with a total volume of 46,606 cubic feet. And then there's only like 2/3 of that that's actually below that BFE that messes with the floodplain. So that's what that 37,611 cubic feet is. And then you basically take that BFE determination area, which is the inundated area behind his property. You take that, divide it by that volume, and you end up with this rise of basically, when it's all said and done, 0.043 feet, which is just a hair over half an inch. And Oglala code says you can have up to a foot. Now, of course, you don't want a foot. That's the absolute maximum threshold. But the only point I'm trying to make, and this is highly preliminary because of course, things change. It's still kind of in the preliminary design phase. And that's why I didn't bring a signed and sealed letter. But the point being is this is well below that 1 foot maximum. Worst case scenario, he trucks everything in. The most he's going to change that floodplain is approximately half an inch. So that's basically the gist of that, just because I remember at the last meeting, the floodplain was a big deal and we didn't want to cause issues. So, yeah.
And then I was gonna let him talk about that off the bat, because with that being said, if, like he said, if I trucked it all in, my plan is to bring as much dirt out of the back of the lots to the front. For one, I think that provides some security as a homeowner out there that say the one in the 100-year flood happens again, there is some place for your water to go out the back. And then the other thing is the homes I'm looking at are building crawl spaces, and talking to Brandon, again, putting all that aside, we could put flood vents in these homes, and I probably wouldn't even have to raise them 2 feet. I probably could get away with raising or filling only a foot of dirt instead of 3 feet. That those took into account too. And then from my understanding too, then each individual home I build, I'll have to go to Ubrin, right, and get the drainage, the proper permit for drainage, right? So,
Well, we can do that as a project, or we can do it individually. So, for the floodplain permit, on something like that, it's probably easier to do it as one floodplain application than it is to do them individually.
But what you have to get individually.
Each individual structure would have to meet the base flood determination.
Yeah. And that's, you get the elevation certificate on each structure. But anyways.
but ultimately, we're trying to put a sound plan together to make sure that we're not causing any issues by doing this.
And that's appreciated. So, because that was one of the questions I had, was based off of the last meeting. So would homeowners be required to have flood insurance?
Nope, as long as we do those things we've listed. Like I said, bring in a little bit of fill, do the crawl spaces and then a foot above the floodplain, there's no flood insurance needed.
Yeah, as long as you're 1 foot above that BFE, that satisfies all regulations. Now, if you try to get flood insurance, the higher you are above that BFE, of course, your premiums go down. But legally speaking, no, if you're 1 foot above the BFE, you're legal.
And I think that, one of the things that we talked about last time is just making sure there was a watershed onto neighbors' properties, things like that. And it sounds like this is taking care of that. So I do want to say thanks, Brody, for, taking the discussion that we had to heart, go in and dig into the details. I know it put you off your time frame that you were looking at, but I know for my seat personally, I appreciate the due diligence. I appreciate the extra work that you put in, because then it makes it easier for me when I'm looking at these things on what I want to approve and not approve. So thank you very much.
Well, no, appreciate it. I gotta thank you.
This will make it a lot easier on you too, when you go to develop the property.
We talked about the other properties and stuff, and it just sounded like attaching that to deeds and things. Would get sticky and get tough.
Yep.
And, so this felt like it.
You did a good job, guys.
Appreciate it.
I think you're smart, just taking one bite of this at a time.
And I'll say the floodplain is part of that. I also just feel like it's nice that, well, I think this town could really use some duplexes. I think we talked about it at the last meeting. The nice thing is splitting it too gives us, feel like an idea of, if this doesn't work, we can adjust the plan a little bit. It's just like we did with the mines. Break it up a little bit and get a good feel for the project and make sure we can make it work best is part of the reason on the phases too. So, but no, I appreciate it.
All right, I'm happy to move to approve a final plat of the Cleveland subdivision, phase 1, located in the southwest border of section 8, township 13 north, range 38 west of the 6 p.m. Heath County, Nebraska.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Laughlin and a second by Councilman Blockman to approve final plat of the Cleveland subdivision phase 1. There's no further discussion. Could council please vote?
Five yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Brody.
Yep, thank you.
All right, report of city attorney,
I do not have it.
report of city manager.
I did not have a report.
All right, this, and we have no council meeting, council member reports. So I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Weddington, second by Councilman Laughlin to adjourn. Please vote. I'm trying, but I really am. There we go.
Five yes.
Motion carried, we're adjourned. Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you.